Hello friends, welcome to Suresh Aggarwal's Mathematics Shortcuts. Speed and time, a very important topic for all the quantitative aptitude exams, and if you do not know the short tricks based on this important topic, you are going to spend so much of time in the exam, irrespective of the thing that you might get a correct answer, but time matters the most when you have to crack the multiple choice questions. And therefore, this video is of so much of importance. So watch the complete video. I'm going to teach you three different short tricks of very common problems of speed and time, and you will see how you can save so much of time in the exam and ensure that you are among top 1% people who succeed in the placement exams. If you have not clicked the subscribe button till now, please do it here right now, and do not forget to click the bell shaped icon so that you keep on getting the notifications of all future uploads on this amazing channel. So let's get going without wasting time and see what is the first trick for the important topic of speed and time. So the first topic which I am going to take up is when you have some speed, say y kilometer per hour, and you are changing that speed to some other speed, say x kilometer per hour, and the change is favorable. That means the value of x which you are having now is greater than what was earlier. So x is greater than y. Therefore, the speed is increasing. And obviously, if you increase the speed, what will happen? You will be covering more distance. So, suppose you are given that a distance equal to a kilometers is covered more when you increase the speed from y kilometer per hour to x kilometer per hour, and you are asked to find the distance, the original distance. Now, how are you going to do this? Is it not the traditional approach which you are going to follow? So, I am going to tell you how you can find this distance directly through the short trick. So, let's not waste any time and do the short trick directly. The distance can be found out by taking in consideration this extra distance which is covered and the difference between these two speeds. X is greater than y, right? So I will take x minus y and multiply this by y. Now let's take some examples and understand the application of this short trick. Now suppose there is a person who was initially traveling at 12 km per hour, and now he is increasing his speed by 6, and now he is traveling at 18 km per hour, right? Now in doing so, the total distance obviously will be covered in a particular time, and in the same time with this speed you will be covering more distance. So how much more distance is given here? It is 48 kilometers more. 48 kilometers more, right? So we need to find the distance, the total distance which we are talking about in the question. So I told you the distance can be found out directly using this short trick, a upon x minus y times y. So let's put the values. A is 48 upon the difference of speeds 18 minus 12, and this speed will be the multiplier, that is 12. Now see the magic. This is 48 divided by 6 times 12, and 6 cancels this 2 times. Therefore, you have the answer 96 kilometers. Now I want to check whether my answer is correct or not. Okay. So if you see, if the original speed was 12 km per hour and the distance is 96 kilometers, then how much is the time taken? Distance upon speed, 96 upon 12, that is 8, right? So 8 hours time is taken in covering 96 kilometers with a speed of 12. Now in those 8 hours, how much distance will you cover when you go at 18 kilometer per hour? Speed into time, 18 times 8, and you will see that now you are covering 48 kilometers more than what you were covering with 12 kilometer per hour. And that itself shows that the question can be solved so easily and short trick works so wonderfully well in this question. You want me to take one more example of the same kind? I'll take example 2. We'll do it very quickly by skipping the steps, okay? So suppose we are having say 60 kmph, the original speed, and we are increasing it to 70 kmph, okay? So 60 and 70, and in doing so we are covering 80 kilometer more with the new speed. So how much is the distance? 80 is the extra distance which we are covering. The difference between these two is 10, and followed by the original here. This is 60, and what do you get? 10 cancels this, 8 6 are 48, so 480 kilometers is the answer. Nothing traditional, you can do that directly, very quickly, without having to frame any equations or using any formulas of distance, time and speed. Likewise, if suppose now the case 2, the short trick number 2, if this y kilometer per hour, the original speed now changes to x kilometer per hour, but now there is a decrease in speed, and therefore x is less than y. So what happens when x is less than y? You will be covering less distance now. So if it is given that a total distance of a kilometers less is covered with the new speed, and we need to find the distance itself, then the short tricks which I told you just now on the previous slide, that works equally well for this also. The distance can be found out using a upon y minus x this time, because y is greater, and times y, the greater one, y will come here in the question. So now we will apply this to some of the questions. Let's take the example number 1. So in the first example, I am going to take the original speed as 45 and I am going to reduce it to 40, okay? And in turn, the distance will be decreasing, right? So initially 45 kmph, and it decreased to 40 kmph, and in doing so, now with the new speed, in the same time he will be covering 10 kilometer less. So if this is known, how many kilometers less is he traveling with the new speed, we can find the distance directly. So what is the distance? A upon y minus x, 45 minus 40, that is 5, times y, this is y, 45. So what's the answer? 5 cancels this, 9 times, so 90 kilometers is the distance traveled. Pretty easy, right? And how much time you are going to take to solve this? Maybe 3 to 4 seconds, and that too without using pen and paper, right? Okay, let's take another example for the same trick, and then I will come to the third case, which is even more important. Now suppose the original speed was 16 kmph and it has been reduced to 12 kmph, and if with the new speed the person travels with the new speed, he covers 12 kilometer less. So we need to find the distance now. So distance is how much less? 12 kilometers less. Difference between 16 and 12 is 4, and the original 16, that will be the multiplier. So 4 cancels this 3 times, and you have 16 times 3, 48 kilometers as the answer for the question. Application is really important. So once you understand what we are doing, the application part should be functional, and you should do like 10 questions of each type to comprehend the concept behind the trick, okay? So let's see the third one now. Now in the third one, suppose the total time taken to cover a particular distance is given to you as say 8 hours, okay? Now this total distance which is covered in 8 hours is divided into 2 equal parts. So the first half of the distance is covered with a speed of x kmph, and the second half, see when we are talking about half, it means exactly half of the distance, okay, with a different speed of y kmph. Now we need to find what is the distance. Again, the distance can be found out using the short trick. And for this you should know the concept of the average speed. So if you know average speed concept, it is going to be easy for you. So the distance can be found out using the formula xy upon x plus y, that is the average speed concept, times the time here, because distance is speed into time. So this is the average speed concept which I have used here to make this short trick. Now let's apply this short trick to solve some questions. Say example 1. So there is a distance which is covered in 12 hours. Okay. So the distance given is 12 hours. So total time A. So this is actually A. And there are two speeds, x and y. The first half is covered with x. The second half is covered with y. In this case I am taking 25 and 15. Okay. So x is 25 kmph and say y is 15 kmph. I hope you understand what is x and y. These are the speeds with which you are covering first half of the distance and second half of the distance. Okay. Now we can find the distance directly. So I told you the short trick is xy upon x plus y into a. So xy upon x plus y, 25 plus 15 is 40 into a. A is 12. Now you need to do this calculation to get to the distance. And so I think this is pretty easy, right? 4 3 times is 12 and 4 10 times is 40. And then 5 2 times and 5 3 times. So do we have anything else cancelling out? Nothing. I think 25 into 9 upon 2. That is 225 upon 2 and that is 112.5 kilometers is the distance. See, concept of average speed. But the direct formula works wonderfully well for us. Otherwise, you will be finding the average speed first and then multiplying it by the total time to get the distance. But let's do it directly through the short trick in the second example also. So now I am going to take the total time as say 4.5 hours and the two speeds x and y as says I'll take 70 and 30. Okay, 70 kmph and y as 30 kmph. And I want to find the distance. So now the distance is again x, y. So 70 into 30 upon x plus y, the sum is 100 times 4.5. So you can see 100 cancels 2 zeros. So it gives you 21 into 4.5. And if you check 21 into 4.5 will be exactly 94.5 kilometers, which is the distance travelled by the person or by the vehicle. Right friends, so we have three different short tricks, very important, most important rather, short tricks for speed and time problems, and these are very frequently asked in the competitive exams. So if you don't know the short tricks, you will solve it, but you will land up spending too much of time on the questions. So save time, follow all these short tricks which I am giving on the channel, and I am sure you are going to crack every exam. Do let me know in the comments here, did it benefit you, and if it benefited you, do share it with all your friends on your WhatsApp groups. Practice 20-30 such questions to feel more comfortable. All the best.